computer. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Now, I'm continuing my conversations with starseeds here, and I have to say, I wish I'd hit record about, what, 3/4 of an hour ago, Ted, because we've covered so many topics before we've got around to hitting record. But my starseed today is Ted Dickinson, and I mean, we met because you came to me for a starseed reading, and we were trying to figure out how that happened, weren't we? And couldn't really get to the bottom of it. But whatever, yeah, we have great conversations. Ted has been a student of human design for a very long time, and I'm not going to even try to attempt to tell you what human design is, because it's a very complicated topic. So I'm going to hand over to Ted at this point, and then see where we go with this conversation, because I always learn stuff from Ted every time I talk to him, and it's fascinating. And the insight you have with the knowledge that you have, Ted, just, you know, is so helpful to anyone who is really wanting to understand who they are and why they're here, and get in touch with their true self. So yeah, over to you, Ted.
Okay. Yeah, well, thanks very much, Sarah. It's really kind of you. Wow. Well, I've lived a lot of life, actually, so
I would hope so.
So yeah, I'm not going to spend the rest of the day talking about myself, but yeah, briefly, I started life as a real normie, I suppose. I'm not sure, like the expression normie, but I'm going to call myself a normie. So I came from a family where Dad had an accountancy practice, Mum was a stay-at-home mum. I had 5 brothers. Dad wanted a daughter, but Mum didn't seem to have. I think he gave up after number 6 and realised what it was costing. Yeah, so my early life was very normal. I was brought up actually in a religion, taught by nuns and Christian brothers. I'm not sure, I think Christian brothers are an oxymoron, actually, but
yeah.
I've never been beaten so much in my life. But anyway, that's what comes from a religious education, I suppose.
Yeah.
But eventually I went to a grammar school. Hated school, actually, I've got to say. From the moment I got there, people that say they loved it, well, it's beyond me. I absolutely didn't. But you know, I was good at running, so I excelled at cross-country running, not into competitive sports. So I just love being outside, and I just love constructing things, building things, taking things apart, and had a massive imagination. And I think I remained a child till I was probably about 70. And now I'm in my
Recently, then.
now I'm in my second childhood. So yeah, but I would advise anybody, by the way, just as an aside, that if you can get back to your childhood and just have that imagination and awe and joy that children have, and the openness and acceptance that children have.
And that's how we come back to who we truly are.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the worst thing we do for our children is to teach them the word they hear most from us is no, or you can't.
Yeah.
And then the next worst thing we do is send them to school, where everything that's original and beautiful about them is beaten out until they join in.
In some cases.
Yeah. So yeah, I went to school and couldn't wait to get out. So when I got to the grammar school, I managed to get in the A stream, and in the school I was in, we had 4 streams. And so if you got in the A stream, you did GCSEs as they were then in 4 years instead of 5. So I managed to leave when I was 15, and I thought, wow, so now life begins. Just wanted to work and do stuff. But of course, Dad was an accountant. He wanted me to be an accountant, so I was sent to work in an accountancy practice, which was worse than going to school again. No. But having said all that, I love numbers, and I think for me, numbers are everything to do with numbers, including numerology, but not that I'm a numerologist. But when you start to understand numbers, you realize how everything is connected. So I went from accountancy after a very short time. I left and got a job with a decorator without telling him, but and I quite loved that, because this chap told wonderful stories, and he was a complete alcoholic. But what an exciting time we had for a while. It was a great journey. So anyway, long story short, on from there, I went back to college to do A-levels, and with the idea of going to university. And I thought I was going to be an architect, because I love I was very artistic and had learned sculpture and various other things and painted. And then I found out it was 5 years at university and 2 years after. I thought, I'm not doing that. So, and then I thought about doing law. I thought being a barrister, I'd really like that. And I probably would have enjoyed it. But again, it just wasn't for me. I just needed to be outside. So actually I joined the army instead and became an army officer, which is a complete change.
So random, isn't it?
It is, but I loved it. I didn't like having to be, I mean, I was, well, you're not going to look at my dishonour, you may see it later, but I'm a rebel. I'm an outlier, and I love it. And the army is a great place to learn discipline. And what I learned from it was that nobody's coming. You ultimately, although you're part of this organisation, what I discovered all the way through, and it's been a common theme in my life, I've worked for large corporates as well, is that all the people above me who I think, well, must be absolutely incredible, they're not.
Yeah, I found that out myself as well.
And
one of life's big disappointments.
Well, it's always been disappointing to me, and I've had a lot of teachers in life, but I learned discipline from that. I was, Dad loved me being in the army because he wanted to be in the army and didn't actually go in, but and every time I came home on leave, we'd be walking down the street and Dad would get into marching step with me, which I found really irritating. So I keep breaking step. And then you suddenly realise when we were not in step anymore, and then you realise after a while that I was doing it on purpose, not really pissed with me. But anyway, so then I went on and I think my ultimate, I had various sales roles and management roles in the Mars Group, and I got into headhunting and recruitment, which, although it was office-based, I thoroughly enjoyed. And it did involve going out and interviewing and meeting different clients. And I've got quite a short attention span. So, but it worked for me. And I was in my element. And at the time, I was very interested in horoscopes and astrology and all that sort of thing. And I got to the point where someone would sit down, I'd be talking to them a bit, and I could tell them what birth sign they were, which sounds ridiculous, but there it was. And it was that interest in astrology, I suppose, that probably started in the 60s, maybe 70s. And that led me to this thing about, well, there's something deeper than this. And so when I eventually started my own business in headhunting and recruitment, which I left in 2014, but through various iterations, we built quite a big business to I think we had 1.60 people, and I had a really brilliant team. And it was, because it was about people, and the common theme, the core of my whole life, everything's been linked together, and it's all about the other. It's all about people. And once you understand that that's like, it's not about me, it's about my relationship with the other, whatever the other is, whether that's nature, doesn't matter what it is. And so I started learning having had this interest in astrology, I learned all kinds of things, and I did kinesiology, and I think in 2008 or 2007 I read Biology of Belief. In fact, before that, I don't know if you remember Lynn Taggart.
Lynn Taggart, yes.
Yeah. So before she did anything online, she used to have a publication called The Field, I think it was. Yeah. And I used to get that and read that avidly. And I was just so fascinated by this, and I'm sure you've had the same feeling, just feeling I don't really fit. Where do I fit? I don't fit with any of this, really.
Yeah.
And so that led me into, and I can't remember other books as well, but Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton. I'll never forget that book because it talked about epigenetics.
Yeah.
And he was a great writer and a really interesting, and I liked hearing him. I liked his voice. So that started me. So from that, I did Site K, which is an energy-based business of helping people heal and so on and so forth. And then I discovered what was the next one? Emotion Code and EFT, became an EFT practitioner. And so my journey from there, then there's a guy called Sid Banks, who is an American. He was a Canadian that had gone to America, and this is all everything I've learned since then is related to energy. And I think it was, I could be wrong, but I think it was Einstein who said, it was either Einstein or Steiner or somebody similar, who said something along the lines of, if you want to understand the universe, think in terms of energy and vibration.
I think was it Tesla?
Pardon?
Tesla?
Oh, it was Tesla, actually, right. Yes, so I've studied Tesla as well. So
No, absolutely right. I mean, I came to that conclusion myself, years ago, that if you can really grasp what energy is and how it moves and the laws that surround it and get yourself in flow with it, my God, you've cracked it. But of course, it's not as simple as just that, is it?
well, it's not, but the thing that I've found, that there's a common thread through all this, and including human design, is that it's all based on energy flowing, and the universe is energy that flows. And when energy gets blocked, you get a cataclysm of some kind, whether it's an inner one or a health one. There's a saying in kinesiology, for instance. I do love kinesiology. I don't practice it. I'm qualified to practice and have practiced, but it's what the mind suppresses, the body expresses, and you'll be aware of that. And so when I was learning a thing called German New Medicine, which was being run by some people in Birmingham. They called it not quantum touch. That's another one I do. But anyway, I can't remember what they call it now. They call it meta medicine. But it was about understanding the emotional cause of illness and the healing process and the healing crisis and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think I touched
it was a version
at one point.
Well, it's Dr. Bader had or Dr. Harmer, I can't remember. He's a German doctor whose son died suddenly during a recovery. But anyway, he came up with his German New Medicine, and then they came up with meta medicine, which used kinesiology, muscle testing, to detect. Anyway, so all that sort of stuff. And then while I was there, they said, I was talking to the chap that ran it, and I said, I just really at this point, I had a very successful business, by the way.
Yeah.
And I had I used to have a Reiki master used to come into the office once a week. I think 2/3 of my people thought I was crack. But anyway, this girl came in and she used to do Reiki for people if they want. Fantastic. And so they'd have a free session, and I had a gym in, so for me, it all made sense. Anyway, most of it didn't. But so I went through all that. And while I was there, I said, I'm trying to find my purpose in life. Well, we've got this chap coming in to do a talk, and his name's Richard Beaumont, and he does a thing called human design. And so you need to come in and talk to Richard Beaumont. So I said, fine, okay. So they gave me his details. I had a reading on the telephone because we didn't have all these Zoom things then. And this was a tropical human design reading, and I found it fascinating. And so I signed up for the course, Living Your Design, as I think you did probably.
I did, yeah.
Exactly. I did all these courses, Rave ABC. I met Ra, I think, as you did, in December 2010. Ra was the genius. Well, I say genius, but he was the channel that brought human design to the world. In 1987, and for me, I think that was 2010. And so since 2010, I've been studying human design, and among other things, and various forms of human design, because there are quite a few now. But I still, Ra's teachings are the original ones, and he brought so much wisdom. And what I found was it helped me understand who I was, or who I thought I was. And it gave me an understanding of it being okay to be who I was.
It was such a relief to me. I like you, it sounds very similar actually, and I think we've probably been in the same audience at various times and just not realized it. But I heard Richard speak in Birmingham, signed up immediately for a reading with him, and actually I had it face to face because he was he was there for a few days doing personal one-to-one readings, and almost the first thing he said to me was, "You're a freak." And again, it was a tropical reading, and we'll come to the importance of that in a moment. But he said to me, "You're a freak," and it was like, oh, thank the Lord. It's like somebody gets it, because I don't fit, and I felt that whole reading, and I was 50 at the time I had that reading done. I just felt for the first time somebody gave me permission to be me. And it was such a relief. It really was, because so many people had tried to stuff me into slots that didn't fit for most of my life. Yeah, for the first time I was like, enough. This is who I am, and I'm who I'm meant to be, and it's okay. So
Yeah, well, I think it's very, I found it very empowering.
yeah, I did as well.
Very empowering. And I think I've always probably, I hated school, as I said before, and I just wanted to be appreciated. I think I wanted to be loved, actually. I wanted to be liked and
I mean,
wanted to
we
be
want to
loved.
be seen. We're all unique. And yet school tries to bash that uniqueness out of you and make you all the same. And, this little cookie cutter model of students. And it's like, no, there's so much more to me than that. Please recognize it. Please see me. Please love me for who I am, not who you want me to be.
Well, it's interesting anyway, because there is part of your design that, and it's an open part of your design, and the shadow part, you just need to be seen. I want to be seen. I want to be heard.
Yeah.
And so when I had my tropical design, there's a part of, we'll come to it later, but there's a part of the human design which it represents your feelings of love, purpose, identity, and all that kind of thing. And so if you have part of your design open, which we'll talk again about in a minute, but if you have it defined, you in theory have a clear sense of your purpose, you feel loved, you love yourself, and and so it goes on. And so in my tropical design, we'll talk about the difference. In fact, maybe this is a time to talk about it, actually.
Yeah. Well, it's, tropical, part of human design is one of the things that goes to make it up is astrology, isn't it? And it uses, as it first came through, it uses what's called tropical astrology. But there is also something called sidereal astrology. Shall I let you explain the difference? Or do you want me to?
Well, either really, because there's Vedic astrology as well, which
there is.
But no, I think you probably understand it better than I do, actually, in terms of the difference between the two.
Yeah, well, just push it at its most simplistic. Tropical astrology, which is the one that's used by most Western astrologers, really is set. It uses a planetary setting where that's 2,000 years old. It's a set, it's a fixed form of astrology. So it's where the planets were 2,000 years ago, or approximately 2,000 years ago, set in stone. And then the whole basis of it plays out from that, which has always seemed nuts to me, because planets move and things move, and
well, and the sun moves every 72 years, moves 1 degree.
And it moves on. So sidereal astrology and Vedic astrology are different in that they take where the planets are now as their baseline. Now at this particular point, not 2,000 years ago. And so it's always seemed to me that sidereal astrology would be more up to date. And it was it's very interesting. When I had a sidereal astrology reading done, I finally found someone who did it. I changed sign. Under tropical, I'm a Libra. Under sidereal, I'm just a Virgo. Just but I've moved sign, and all sorts of other things have moved. So I mean, we got talking, didn't we, about this at one point, and it kind of caught your interest, and you started to kind of look at it from the human.
Well, I read your brilliant book, actually, this one, which I use as a reference book, Understanding Ascension. And so I saw the chart in your book. So this chart here of the sidereal,
and
and the package, I've changed the package I've used, the software I've used. So I went from Jovian Archives to 64 keys, and then I've gone to Genetic Matrix, which
And these are
is,
different human design.
yeah, it's different software doing different things. And on Genetic Matrix, I saw in your thing Sidereal. I thought, Sidereal, I've seen that somewhere. Oh, Genetic Matrix. So that piqued my interest. And then I found someone that did those readings, and had a quite a long meeting with her. And so, and it's a bit like once you've seen something, you can't unsee it.
Yeah. I
And
know.
of course, and it tied in, it reinforced some of the stuff in my starseed report.
Yes, I remember we had that conversation. Yeah. Because I mean, human design talks about something called the not self, doesn't it? But I mean,
Yeah.
it's a reading. I mean, it's a very detailed reading, far more than astrology is. I mean, it really gets down into the nitty-gritty of who you are as the personality you've chosen for this incarnation. Um, and there's so much information, it's so much helpful information in it. But human design talks about the not self, which are the overlays, the conditioning, the programmings that we all, you know, get laid over us, that take us away from being our true self or our true essence. So tropical astrology is talking to what in my terms I would call the lunar self, which is the false overlays and the matrix that the whole human race has been living under for thousands of years. And we are in this movement out from the lunar matrix back into being solar beings. And to me, that movement from the not self back to the true self is about us reestablishing ourselves as the solar beings. And again, you know, I would expect to see astrology in the longer term and everything move back into this true reading, taken from where the planets are at this time, rather than this fixed, rather false reading, which is the overlay. I've always seen that as being the overlay, part of the overlay. So, you know, being able to understand who you've been programmed to be within the matrix, and then this movement of who you truly are as a solar being, it's just, I mean, it lights me up. I know it lights you up as well.
Well, I think it does, because for me, human design, and I got into human design, as I say, in 2010. And so I was tropical human design until January last year, January 2025, when I moved towards Sidereal.
Mm.
And then since then, there's a chap called Ethan Chimenti, who has a business called Mastering the Zodiac, but he's a sidereal astrologer. And he's done some amazing work, and he came up with a final calculation, because there's quite a difficult calculation to establish the numerical values for the moment you were born in sidereal.
Right. Mm.
Okay, I won't go into detail of it, because
Try my brain. Easily
yeah,
done.
exactly. But he's come up with the midpoint method, which is the ultimate method. And so the most recent software that I've started using, which is I've only been using now since just before Christmas, I think, works on that basis. And so the software is actually quite inexpensive to buy unless you buy the professional package. And I always have in the past with others. With this one, I haven't, because I'm not looking to do AI readings online, and I'm not
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
marketing stuff. My take on life is that those people that want to hear what I've got to say will find me. And that might sound a bit, but when everything collapses, we don't have internet anymore, then we're not going to have any of that. So it's going to be a waste of time. So, and I like simple. I like things that are basic and simple. So you can pay, I think it's $7 a month, which is about £5 something. And you can get your astrology chart, you can get your human design chart, you can get other charts, which we'll maybe talk about as we go through this. But it's really simple to use.
Yeah.
And it takes, for me, sidereal astrology takes me beyond the purely mechanical understanding of human design, because there is actually, and this is the part I love about it, I can do the same reading as lots of other people, which would be about, well, you've got your you've got this center defined, and that means this channel is going to mean you're going to do this and going to do that. But actually, there's more to it than that.
Yeah.
And when I mentioned energy and vibration and resonance before, the most important thing about understanding your design and working with your design is to try and get yourself into the right environment so that you're in resonance with your environment, with the right people, so you're in resonance with those people.
Yeah.
Because if you're not, and so that your dietary regime is in resonance with your system, because when you get those things right, when all those things are resonating, you're avoiding those blocks, which are going to cause you disruption. So if you're not in the right environment, you won't meet the right people.
Yeah.
And so, that's really been the I suppose almost a mini awakening for me. Sidereal's taken me beyond the purely mechanical.
Yes.
Into more of, I'll use the word spiritual, but spiritual for me means a lot of things, but into a much more spiritual, connected, natural, flowing way of understanding ourselves and behaving in life.
Yeah.
And it brings a lot of ease with it. The thing about human design is when you start working with your design, when you start understanding who you truly are, understanding that you are not even one in a million, you are unique.
Yeah.
You are unique. And so anyone that says, so I love when I hear a parent say, why can't you be more like your brother? I'm thinking, well, because they're nothing like their brother.
Even being designed to be like the brother. Yeah.
No, and even twins, even identical twins. It's really interesting that there's a thing called epigenetics. And because I could never quite get my head around, well, if two people are born very, very close together, why aren't they the same? Well, they start off very similar.
Yeah.
But as they move through life and they're impacted by different people and different friends and they're conditioned and they start to form their own design.
Yeah, and even in that, born at the same time, or they're not. They're usually born a few minutes apart.
Yes.
And even in that slight movement, there's been a slight shift of influences, hasn't there?
There has. So the variables would have changed. The line may have changed. And so we'll talk about gates and lines. I've been thinking about this since we decided that we're going to have this discussion, that human design can seem very complicated. And I guess if you look at the whole thing globally and all the bits involved, it probably is. But actually, I love simple.
Yeah.
So there are certain things for me that are important to focus on. If you get those little bits right, if you try and eat the whole cheese in one go, you'll make yourself sick and never eat cheese again. But if you just have a nibble now and again, and we'll just have that quarter today or whatever, then you'll start to absorb it, and it will then become part of. It will become part of you. You will then start to feed your design, and you'll start to form your own understanding, and you'll have aha moments.
Yeah.
And as you said earlier on, you'll suddenly think, wow, for the first time in my life, I feel recognized.
Yes. Yeah. And I feel in flow. I'm not trying to make myself something I'm not. I'm stepping into who I really am, and I'm working with the flows of energy in my life. And it takes so much of the crap out, doesn't it?
Well, I think you have a very unusual design, Sarah. So, it is, most of us wouldn't be able to cope with it. Most of us would be completely overwhelmed, but you're designed for that. I mean, it's your design. And so it enables you to bring wisdoms to us, the rest of us, that we would never, ever have access to otherwise.
Yeah.
So when I was reading
you told me that when I was younger, it would have saved a lot of angst.
Well, my take on it is that the universe will bring those things to you when you're ready when you're ready.
I had a load of crap to get rid of first.
Of course, and then we all do,
Yeah.
So what should we do? Should
Do you
we?
want me to do you want me to share? We you've pulled up my chart, haven't you? And
I have.
he's going to share all my secrets with you. So
Well,
uh
not all of them, Sarah. We'll just the one.
just a few of them. Let me see if I can find my way to where we're gonna be. Okay. And there we go. Yeah, you seeing that?
Great. Yeah. Fine. Okay. So
So this is my basic human design chart, and everything flows from this, and it looks incredibly complicated. But to someone who can read this, which is why it's important you go to someone who knows what they're talking about. There's just a wealth of information embedded within this, isn't it? So over to you, Ted.
okay. So this is what we call the body graph, human design body graph, and this was Sarah's. So what's the best way to describe a body graph? When you buy an electric iron or a computer or anything technical, it comes with, unfortunately now online, but anyway, it comes with a handbook which explains how it works. And the most important thing we ever actually acquire in our lives is our design. And this is a design which is created at the moment of birth. And so, but we don't get an instruction manual with it. So your human design.
This is the instruction manual, isn't it?
This is the instruction manual. And so this was brought to earth, or brought to us by a chap called, it was called, his original name was a Canadian, he was an engineer actually originally, a very bright chap and a musician, but a bit of a hippie. And he decided he didn't want to be part of this Canadian family. So he buggered off to Ibiza and lived like a hippie actually, and lived in an old building which was abandoned, it was called a ruina there, like ruin, but with an A on the end. And anyway, so this chap was living in this ruina, and in 1987 there was a supernova when a star collapsed, and the Earth was bombarded with about 5 times as many photons and, let's just call it, energy particles than normal.
Energy.
Cosmic energy. And so at this point he heard a voice, basically. I won't go into, you can read the story if you want to, you can probably find it online. But for about 8 days, I think it was, his dog, he had this sort of stray dog called Barley something. I can't remember the exact name of the dog, but since I love animals, that bit sticks in my mind. But he worked for 8 days and nights without stopping, being given information by what he called the voice. And this voice was other planetary or other being, but anyway, it was from elsewhere. And this voice gave him all these instructions, didn't give him this design particularly, but a load of information. And he was told, and the voice wasn't friendly, by the way, he was told he had to go and share this with others.
He was being given a mission, wasn't he?
Yes, it was. I mean, that was up until this time, he was just sort of smoking dope, playing guitar and mixing with lots of other hippies. And this then became his mission in life. And he carried on that mission until he passed in, or I like to call it went on, transitioned, whatever, in 2011, March 2011 in Ibiza, where by this time he was married and had, I think, second marriage actually, and had 2 children, who I've met, by the way, interestingly. So that was the beginning of human design, and I won't go. It sounds quite. It is a bit complicated actually, but basically, the human design body graph is a representation of our blueprint, but it's an energetic representation. So the top of the body graph is called the head, and sitting at the top of the head is a thing called the personality crystal, and sitting in the ajna, which is the dark inverted triangle below, is the design crystal. Sorry,
this one here. I don't know if
yeah. And then, but those two are completely opposed. 180 degrees and they don't get on, in actual fact. And they're held together, though, in this illusion of togetherness by the magnetic monopole, which sits in the diamond shape in the middle, the G center. Now, the magnetic, just a few pointers here. When Ra came up with this design and the magnetic monopole is a single pole magnet, which didn't, as far as scientists were concerned, in 1987, there wasn't such a thing. So, but it later became known that there was a monopole, and it's only been found quite recently, actually. So what happened at the moment of the seed entering, you know, where the normal process of impregnation, was that the design crystal and the magnetic monopole would start the business of building the body.
So and the bit here and the bit here.
Yes, you start there, meet there, and then at the moment of birth, the personality crystal, which is the diamond at the top, which is just sits in the top part of the head. At the moment of birth, that's the moment the fetus exits the womb, the body is born. It's imprinted with its personality. So that's design, and it's imprinted by things called neutrons. And neutrons are infinitesimally small packages of energy that go just slower than the speed of light. And they carry all the information that creates the design. So the design is finally completed at that point, at that moment of birth. Now, the other interesting thing is that these neutrinos, which give us our imprint, which travel slightly slower than the speed of light, pick up information that they go through from everything they go through. And 70% of that comes from the sun. Most of it comes from the sun. Now, it was thought that neutrinos travel faster than the speed of light, and therefore anything that travels faster than the speed of light cannot carry information. It has no mass. But the Japanese discovered, by building a lead-lined heavy water tank, they managed to capture neutrinos passing through this tank. And it's established that they're actually traveling slightly slower than the speed of light. So they do carry information. And that information only came into being, I think, 10 years, 12 years ago. I can't remember when it was.
Yeah, it was, I know when I first started to learn a bit about human design, it was very new information through.
Right, okay.
Ra had it, but before the scientific community had it.
That's right. So the interesting thing is that's two bits of information, magnetic monopole and neutrinos as carriers of information that weren't known when Ra came up with this, but he was given this information by the voice. So clearly that's substantiated in quite a large way the scientific basis of this. And so in many ways it relates that I started reading a book on quantum mechanics fairly recently, because that also helped me with an understanding of how all this works. But I haven't read it all the way through, and I'm not going to because my brain hurts. But anyway, so that was the imprint. And so I'm going to talk. So that's really how it came about. And Ra developed this over the years. And a lot of the early teachings were very basic, as you can imagine. And as Ra refined this was the ultimate thing he came to. The only thing I would say, by the way, in this design, Sarah, and it's not really important, I guess, to our listeners, but the bottom two numbers on both sides, one is Chiron return and the other is Lilith, which actually isn't part of
these two.
The bottom two, yeah. I should have mentioned that too before we started, actually. But this particular, quite interesting, because the Chiron return, I think, is a critical time in our lives. It's our progression. We may talk about this in this talk, or maybe not. But
you can come back and do another.
Yeah, doing number two. So right, okay. So let's start with this design. So what we've got here is a number of shapes: triangles, squares, and diamonds, and they all represent various things. So the top diamond is the head. It's where ideas and thoughts come to us. Only 29% of any population have a defined head. It's a pressure center. It's the pressure to know. It represents the pineal gland in terms of our biology, if you like. And that is then, below that is the ajna, which is awareness. It's an awareness center. It's conceptual. It represents conceptualization. It's how we conceptualize the information that comes into our heads as ideas, into formatting it into something that we can explain logically. The center below that is, oh, by the way, that represents the posterior and anterior pituitary gland. And 51% of any population have that defined. Defined is when it's coloured in, by the way.
Yeah. So this one isn't defined. That one. That one
yeah, the coloured ones are defined. The ones that are white are open. So the one that's open there, that's the throat, and that represents it's the manifestation centre of the body graph, if you like. Everything above the body graph, so the head and the ajna, want to get down to the throat. To give it voice, and everything below the throat wants to get up to the manifestation center, because that's where our energy goes to be expressed in action. Okay, so the throat is central manifestation. It has the most gates in the body graph. It's responsible for the thyroid and parathyroid and our metabolism, and 71% of people have that defined. So Sarah is one of the 29% that don't. And by the way, when we talk about soap and not soap, we'll come to that later. But those are the areas where you've got a white center, that's Ra says that's where we go to learn lessons. So the next center down is the diamond in the middle. It's called the G center. It's responsible for identity, love, purpose, and direction. It's responsible biologically for liver and blood. 57% of people have that defined or coloured in, and 43%, of which I am one, have it open. And then we go down to the sort of sideways on triangle down. There we are, down to the right. It's called the heart, will, and ego center. I call it the will or ego center. That center and the center, the grey diamond on its side pointing to the left below it, how far to go into this, are fairly new centers. So they tend to be immature, although they're reaching their level of maturity now. But the ego and will center came out of the G center in 1781 when Herschel discovered Uranus, and the next center down, the grey center on its side pointing left, the emotional center, the solar plexus, became defined at the same time and came out of the sacral, which is this brown square in the middle there. But let's go back to the ego or will center, which Sarah does have defined here. It's responsible for the stomach, heart, gallbladder, and thymus. And if you think about where the thymus is in the body, by the way, in our human body, it's actually where the G center is, which is interesting. 37% of the population have that. These are the people that have willpower. Those of us that don't have it defined, we don't have willpower. So if Sarah decides she's going to do something, she has the willpower to complete it. We don't. So don't beat yourself up if you haven't got it defined and you say you're going to go on a diet and you don't. So let's go down now to the emotional center, which is the emotional, solar plex.
Oh, that one there.
Yeah. So solar plex is it's the solar plexus. It's our emotional center, and it's responsible for the prostate, kidneys, lungs, pancreas, and nervous system. And 51% of people have this defined. It's an awareness center like the ajna, and it's also a motor. And by the way, the ego and will center are motors. So far we've had 2 motors, and now we've had 2 awareness centers. The emotional center is immature, although it's reaching its maturity now, and in 2027 it loses its it goes through, people with emotional center go through an emotional wave, which I won't go into at this point, but if we ever speak on it, I can explain it in more detail. So we'll go across.
I mean, to me, this is, you know, the whole human morphogenetic field is evolving, and human design speaks to that.
Oh, completely, yeah. So well, maybe we'll talk about it when we talk about your design in particular. So if we go down to the square at the bottom there, that's the root center. The root center is responsible for the adrenals, the hormones, and it's stress based, adrenal stress, it's hormones. 60% of people have it defined. It's a motor, it's a pressure center, and it's format energy, and it sends power to all the other centers. And it's such a powerful center, it has no direct connection to the throat because it would blow the throat if it did. So incredibly powerful. It's pulsic energy, so it's on and it's off. And the gates in the root center at the bottom there tend to be centers of well, we don't use the word melancholy. So any gate in that center at the bottom there can relate to melancholy of one sort or another.
Yeah, it's a wonderful word, melancholy. Actually, we should bring it back into use, shouldn't we?
Yeah, we should. I mean, depression is melancholy. It's part of life. You know, when I said earlier on, think of everything in terms of vibration and resonance, and what else did I say it was?
Frequency, sound.
So everything is inside. You know, energy moves in cycles, and so it's cyclical energy that goes through the body. So it's on and it's off. And it's quite an important thing to know if you have gates in particularly if you had gates in the root. The root's a very important center. So it's a motor and it's a pressure center. And then finally, oh, hang on, we haven't talked about the sacral center, have we, in the middle?
Yes, well, no, we haven't.
No. So this is the sacral or sacral plexus. It's a motor. It's responsible for life force energy and the sexual organs. And it's powered obviously from as we said, from format energy from the root. And people that have this center, which is about, I think it's 70%, between 69 and 71%, the number keeps changing. That means that you are a generator. It means you have life force energy if you have it defined. Sarah has it defined, I have it defined. So we're generator or form of generator, which we'll talk about later. And then over to the left of that, we have the spleen, which is our oldest limbic system, actually. And it's responsible, it's an awareness center. So there are 3 awareness centers now. It's our limbic system. It keeps us safe. It's responsible for the spleen, the lymph gland, and the T cells. And 53% of people have it defined. Sarah has it open. I have it open. But you notice Sarah's got 1, 2, 3, 4 gates in that.
Yeah,
now, just to so we've got 4 motors. We have 3 awareness centers, and we have 2 pressure centers, and then we have the G center, which is love and identity. And for me, the heart still sits in the G center. Is the point I would make, because it's our center of love and identity. And since love, people talk about love a lot now, and I think it's a word that's probably, maybe you say it can't be overused, but I think it probably is, or used in the wrong context. But
I think we need more than one word for love, because it means so many things.
Yeah, a bit like the Eskimos have, or the Inuits, whatever they call, have about 50 different words for snow.
Yeah. That's what we need, because there's so many shades of love, aren't there?
Well, I as I was explaining to Sarah earlier, I've over the years downloaded lots and lots of instructional programs from Jovian Archive. They've got an amazing range of stuff, and they've got Jovian TV, which has interesting stuff in it as well. And I think it might be free. But and I've got loads and loads of videos, and I think, you know, I've got one of the books I've got is The Gates of Love, and there are 10 gates of love. but they're love of different things, and they relate to various gates in the body graph. I've got the book on gates of fear. Now, the spleen is a fear-based system, and so all the gates in the spleen, this one over here on the left, are fear gates, and so it could be fear of responsibility, fear of the future, fear of death, fear of dying without a purpose, and a lot of people are identified with that. And so there are so many nuances to design. Anyway, so that's enough about the centers. So just to know then, so that the head's pushing down and the root is pushing up, and it's all trying to get to the throat. So then we have 64 gates, and the gates are the little black numbers in all the various centers. Where you've got a gate which has a line coming off it, so the gate is highlighted
with the colors.
Yeah, with the colors, those are partial channels. Where you have a gate where it connects to another gate, so you've got a solid line. So we've got one at the top in Sarah's chart here, which goes from gate 64 to gate 67, from the head to the ajna. Yeah, that's a lot of what Sarah's about, actually, as we'll find out. I don't have the whole channel. I have the 47. So that is constant energy that's running. So that where you have two gates joined by a solid line, that becomes a channel, and that is called definition. And because those two gates are joined, that is why the head and the ajna are colored in. That connection makes them, you suddenly get constant energy flowing between the two. You'll see if you go down to the G center in the middle there, the diamond in the middle, there's a solid line there that goes down from the 15 down to the 5. So those two gates are therefore defined because there's constant energy running. If you look again down in that square and you look over at gate 59, you'll see that that's joined to the solar plexus. So the sacral is joined to the solar plexus. So you've got solid definition there. And then in the solar plexus going up to the will or ego center, you've got the 3740. And so you've got definition there. And then finally, you've got another solid line which goes from the emotional center down to the root, which is the 3955. So that you've got connection there. So what you will see from this is that all those centers at the bottom there, so the root, the emotional center, solar plexus, the sacral, the will, and the ego are all connected in one way or another to each other. So there's a constant. So that's one complete circuit that's running with Sarah. Then if you go up, you'll see that you've got those two connections, that one connection between those two centers at the top. So Sarah, but there's no connection between those two centers and the lower centers. So that means that the definition for Sarah is split definition. And we'll maybe get to talk about that later. But it's a very important thing to know, because Sarah's got lots of centers operating separately, two circuits running completely separately that are not joined up. And that's going to could be a problem for Sarah if she wasn't aware of it. And there are ways, pardon? Yeah, and she's been aware of it all her life. But there are ways of joining those up, which I will briefly talk about later. Now, where you've got a part line, but not a complete line, those are hanging gates. If they're in a defined center, they're constantly looking to make the connection between themselves. So if we go to the top, we've got gate 63 over on the right there. Gate 63 is always looking for that connection to gate 4. Now, interestingly, and we'll see later, I've got gate 4, but I haven't got gate 63. So when we're together, that channel is completed.
Yeah.
That's a connection between Sarah and myself. Okay. So I think that's enough on gates. So we've got open gates, which are completely open. There's no, they're not highlighted in any way at all. They're just dormant gates. But actually, no, they're not. They look dormant, but if for various reasons, which we'll talk about in a minute, they can become alive. And it's great to know about that. So let's just look at the numbers down each side. So over on the right, you've got all the numbers on the grey side, and they are personality. And they represent who Sarah thinks and sees that she is. So she's consciously aware of these. So if we go through each of those gates and point them out, Sarah will see what they are, and she'll probably recognize them. And those gates are imprinted at the moment of birth. So they are unique to you. If you go over to the left-hand side, we have the design. Now, at the moment of birth, your design becomes imprinted as well. Now, it's actually 88, 89 days before your exact moment of birth. But that's your design, which is unseen. That's your unconscious design, if you like. So your personality you're aware of, your unconscious you can't see, but others can see it in you. Now, the interesting thing about this is that your personality sun and your design sun, those are the two top in each column, and earth. So the top one's the sun, the second one's the earth. They represent 70% of your design. Over on the left side, the design side, the personality sun you inherit from your father, and the personality earth you inherit from your mother, or your father's line or your mother's line. I think it was Ra that said it skips a generation, so more likely from your father's father and your mother's mother. But anyway, we won't go into that. That's not really important at this time. But the interesting thing is that others see that in you. So when someone says to you, as I used to get all the time, "You're just like your father," I say, "No, I'm not. No, I'm not." But of course, I am. I'm carrying that genetically. So what we inherit genetically from our parents is about 25% of our design.
Yeah.
Is about the right figure. So that's really interesting and actually quite important to know. So each of those numbers represents a gate. So the 64 in the top right-hand column there is Sarah's personality sun, and that's sitting in her head. So we know that and the number below it, which is, I can't see from here.
That's 60, what, the earth, 63.
63, which is also in the head. So the 64 is grounded. So the personality sun is grounded is being balanced by, if you like, the 63. Except in Sarah's case and her design, it isn't really balanced at all. One is logical and one is abstract, but they actually join as one with Sarah. I'm probably going too deep here, actually, but this is what I find absolutely fascinating about Sarah. She sees things that we will never see. So, but that's particularly because of her design. But you can see now that's really important for her to know. Really important for her to know. So at the side of each of those numbers, over on the personality side, we've got the 54, and the line next to it is 1. And if we go over to the design side, we'll see that the line next to 63 is 3. So that gives Sarah her profile.
35, you mean?
Pardon?
35?
Sorry, 30. Yes, sorry, 35 is 3. So you're a 1-3. So in human design, there's a thing called profile, and profile is the cloak we wear, how we show up in this world. And so that makes Sarah a 1-3. There are 6 lines for each number. So we won't talk about it now, but if you go down those numbers, you'll see that each one has a different number. And Sarah probably has a lot of 1s, actually. I'm just trying to find your chart.
Ones and 6s from the looks of it, with a few 3s thrown in, yeah.
Well, 3s are money, actually, so
let's not dismiss them.
So there are 6 profiles. It's really interesting. This is why human design gets complicated, but and it's all numbers. But there are 6 lines for each gate. There are 6 colors for each line. Each color has six tones, and each tone has 5 bases. So each gate has over 1,000 possible ways of being read, or differentiated in over 1,000 ways. Now, I don't go down that deep because it's not really necessary, but where that comes out is in the variables, which are the arrows we'll talk about in a minute. But those numbers, so Saira has an awful lot of, she's an investigator. So 1 is the line of the investigator. Number 2 is the line of the hermit. Number 3 is the line of the martyr. Number 4 is the line of the opportunist. Number 5 is the line of the heretic. And number 6 is the line of the role model. So because Saira has a lot of 6s in her chart, she's here to be a role model. And I won't bore you. There are lots of things about the lines that I could go into, which I won't now, because I don't think at this level it's really appropriate. But so if we know that Saira's personality number is a 1, that means she's an investigator, and her design number is a 3. She's an investigator martyr. And so just listen to the words, because words are important. So she's here to dig and delve deeply. And believe me, if you've read any of her books, you'll know she digs very deep and delves very deep. And she's a martyr. So what do we know about martyrs? Martyrs will speak their piece and die for their cause on the cross, because and so 3s can have a tricky life on this earth, as can 1s actually. But if you want to know something, ask a 1, because they'll investigate it for you. I happen to be a 3-6, which is a double dagger really, because 3s have a really tricky passage through life, and 6s for the first 30 years of their life are 3s. So it's the double. But and which is why we get into the 3rd stage. We'll get into that later. But so anyway, so what we're looking at here is someone who, from their design, is here to investigate. And then there are other things in her design that explain to us that she's here to share that information. So again, without going into too much detail, the circuitry, which is these lines that are there and the centers that are joined, the circuitry defined as who she is. And so that tells me, and I won't explain it in too much detail, but from the head to the ajna, she's got this gift of investigating. And she can, as I said earlier on, because of the gate she's got, she's here to investigate things that we will never see, because she has access to them. And then she's here to communicate those to us. So the communication center, which is her open center of the throat, means that she will struggle to communicate that. So she's fine when she's with me, because if you actually put our joint, this is a good time to put the joint charts up.
I think it's that one, isn't it?
Yeah. So if you look at this here, so if you get this software package I mentioned earlier, you get access to all of this, and there's loads and loads and loads of information there. So Saira's chart is there over on the left, and that's my chart over there on the right. So you'll see that when we're together, Saira has access to the throat, and she has it through the 1762 over there on the left, going from the ajna down to the throat. Now, let's just leave it there for the moment. I give Saira access to the throat. I also give her access to that access to the throat from the head and the ajna. But more importantly, I also give her access to the throat from the G. She has the G and I don't. But I've got that gate. I've got gate number 7 in the G, which is an open gate. Is that right?
Yeah.
And Saira's got gate number 7 in the throat. So again, she's got another.
Sorry, gate 7 in the G.
I've got gate 7 in the G. You've got gate 31 in the throat.
31, yeah.
And that's a channel of leadership, by the way. But that means that Sarah, who, if you look at her tiny little chart there over on the left, has no act. She's got 4 motors running.
Yeah.
There are only 4 motors, and they're pressurized from the root, so they're really, really, really active motors, but no access to the throat. So Sarah will have a lot of frustration, or would have had a lot of frustration in her life, to want to get going with things, but she's got all this activity pushing to get to this manifestation center, but with no access to it.
It's
So,
it's what I've called in the past. I've called it my Cassandra complex.
oh, right.
It's like I can talk about things, I can see things, I can tell people things, but they don't hear it.
Well, also,
They don't respond to it in any way.
well,
And then all of a sudden they do. And it's because I'm with somebody who joins up. It's
joins you up. So
yeah.
suddenly you've got all this energy. So, and then there are other connections there as well. So you can see that just by, so what's happening is those white centers we talked about earlier, Sarah's conditioning me because I have white centers. I don't, for instance, have a G center.
Yeah.
But when I'm with Sarah, I have my G center defined. The center is, the G center is love, identity, and purpose. So when I'm in Sarah's aura, and aura is energy, I find purpose, direction, and love in some way. And the way I would say I find love and purpose with Sarah is that when we're talking, particularly if it's about human design, I'm able to give Sarah information which she hears. We're both joined up and connected. So that information is going in and Sarah's downloading it. But it's also enabling her to communicate to me. So we feel heard, and being heard is one of the most important things in life. So it gives me purpose because I've got all this knowledge of human design, and the knowledge isn't for me. It's not for my benefit. It's for the benefit of others. And again, that's in the chart. So I won't explain where now, but I'm here on this earth to learn, as just learn and take in information. And my other major interest is health, as is Sarah's. So we're both interested in health, which is interesting because both of us have an open health centre in terms of the spleen. So you can see now, I think you can begin to see how all these things start to come together and join up. And the other thing I'd say about this is where you have a relationship, and relationships for me are the most important thing in a way because they're about the other. And if you're in a relationship, particularly if you're a marriage relationship or a mother-child, father-child relationship, whatever, it really is important to understand the design of your offspring or your insignificant other, because if you don't, you will not understand some of their behaviors. You will not understand where things are going wrong. And I'll give you an example of this. If you can, I don't know if you can open up your screen a bit, but if you look at the bottom there, you've got, so when we're together, we have single definition. Now, what that means is there are no breaks between any centers. So when I'm with Sarah, we're all joined up. If you have a relationship where you look at your significant other's design and your design together and there's a break, it means it's a split definition relationship. And that will be a source of stress and problems in the relationship if you don't know it's there. And what I suggest to people with that, by the way, is if you're going to go to a dinner party, go and have a coffee somewhere else first so you can both join up and get it all out of the way. Because if you go to a dinner party, they're the couple that always fall out and start arguing. It's true. It's true.
Yeah, it's fascinating. There's so much to be learned from this.
So then if we get down to the connection theme, it's 8 and 1, have some fun. Now, 8 and 1 refers to the fact that of the 9 centers, we have 8 defined. And then 1 that's open, we share, which is again why we probably get on so well, is in the area of health and wellness and safety. And so my big interest is, I've been learning stuff about health for as long as I can remember. And I just I don't read novels. I just read stuff about how it's a constant part of my life. And seeing, I can see when people are not well. And I don't just mean not well physically. I can easily see that. You can tell people's life force very easily. But when people are not emotionally well, or I can walk into a room, and you know, when you walk in a room and you feel the atmosphere, you're feeling the energy that's been created because something's happened. It's flowing energy. So we all feel energy, whether we realize it or not. 8 and 1 have some fun. So Ra came up with this 9 and 0. So if you've got a couple that's together and they're all joined up, single definition, all 9 centers defined, it's called 9 and 0, nowhere to go. So I can have fun with Sarah going to talk about health because we're both interested in it. That's where we go to have fun. The discovery process, a learning center. When you have all 9 centers defined, then you're a complete unit. And actually, children of parents who are 9 and 0 and a single definition sometimes have a problem getting recognized and accepted because their parents are so close. There's no room for anyone else in the relationship.
Yeah.
So it's 9 and 0, nowhere to go. So important for people of a complete 9 to spend time apart.
Yeah.
8 and 1 have some fun. 7 and 2 work to do. 6 and 3 better to be free. That's not quite true. I mean, that was what Ra said, but actually Ra was very black and white about some of these things. And I feel that once we understand our design, when we truly understand it, and we have love for the other, which is why I think Ra, bless me for saying this, Ra, but I think Ra had a fairly loveless relationship. He had children. He had a daughter from his first marriage and then 2 boys from his second. But I don't know Ra's sidereal design, actually, so I couldn't possibly say. Anyway, 5 and 4 head for the door, and it doesn't say anything after that, so maybe you can't be any worse.
Yeah.
Probably involves guns, knives, and axes.
Dysfunctional.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So the next thing down there, you'll see dominance channel, and there where Sarah has a full channel that I don't have either a gate. I have nothing in that at all. So Sarah has, let's see, one of Sarah's channels that only she has. So the 59-6, she has the full channel. This is going from the sacral to the emotional center.
Sacral here.
Sacral here to the emotional center. Sorry.
Yeah, 59-6.
Yeah.
I'm saying it.
I have gate 59. So that's 59-6.
Yeah.
Sarah has the whole channel. I'm trying to find one where you have the whole channel and I don't have any. Oh, there we are, 15-5.
Yeah.
So that's a dominance channel.
That's another one.
Yeah, there we are. Yeah, so those are dominants. Those are channels that I don't have any of the gates. So for me, that's new. That's learning. I can learn from watching and listening and observing Sarah because I don't have any of that. So it's something I don't recognize. So that channel there, the tribal channel, the 3740 that Sarah's got that we just spoke about, that's very much a tribal channel. That's Sarah's here to provide for, take care of her tribe. I'm not very tribal, very little tribe in my design. Sarah's very tribal, so she will care for her tribe. Her life is about feeding her tribe, making her tribe safe, caring for her tribe, nurturing the tribe. But in return, the tribe has to, or Sarah expects the tribe to take care of her. So dominance channels are channels where, and then I have
these here that I don't have.
Yeah, so that's the channel of anarchy, I call it, but the 63. Well, that's the middle channels up the center there are individual channels. The tribal circuit always involves the will, generally involves the will. The will center is the head of the tribe. Now then you have, so dominance, so you have connection themes, you have dominance channels, you have compromised channels, and then you have electromagnetic channels. And I don't know if we've got any. Oh, yeah, we do have electromagnetics.
Yeah, they've fallen off.
So let's just go into the compromised channels, and this is where you get other issues. This is the middle bit here. So I said I connect Sarah to her throat. So I've got the whole channel, the 1762. Sarah's got 62, which is, I've got the whole channel. So 17 is gate of opinions, 62 is challenges those opinions. Sarah's got 62, I've got the whole channel. So I compromise Sarah. So her gate 62, her gate 62 is compromised because I have the whole channel.
Yeah,
So
so
when
kind of
you
like you drown me out.
pardon?
You drown me out on that one.
I drown you out,
Yeah.
exactly. So when you have a gate and it's looking for the other side, it wants to sample all flavors of the other gate. So Sarah, if her throat was activated, would want to sample every line of the gate 17. So 1 through to 6. All she gets to sample is me. And so it means that she's frustrated that she can't see more. She won't know that, but you need to sample the whole range of flavors.
Mm.
And that can be a problem in a marriage, particularly if it's in an important channel related to the. So if it's in one of the sexual channels, for instance, that could be a massive problem if you don't understand it. And what Ra said, because he was compromised, he wasn't defined. Well, I don't know what it. Let's say I don't know what his design was. I know what his tropical design was, but he was compromised by the rest of his family because in his terms, tropically, he wasn't defined emotionally and the rest of them were. And if you're not defined emotionally and you're not aware of that and you're with an emotional partner, you're going to try and avoid the emotional outbursts. You do not understand emotion. And so you'll try and avoid it at all costs. And when someone's being emotional, they want to be heard.
Mm.
And if you're a bloke and you've got a wife who's emotional and you're not, as soon as she becomes emotional, all we want to do is sort the problem out, give them a solution so they shut the fuck up. But excuse my French. But actually, to honor that emotion, we need to sit with it and hear it. And I've learned that because I wasn't emotionally defined in my tropical chart or my sidereal chart. So I've learned to be okay with emotion. And then once you understand that and you can listen and not try and give solutions or divert people away, which is what we try and do because it feels incredibly uncomfortable for us. Because as I said earlier on, the emotional center is immature. And so the immature behavior tends to be unreasonable and ridiculous actually when we're not emotional. So anyway, I'm rambling too much.
It's just an illustration of where we can really learn.
Oh yeah, hugely.
That you can see the lessons that are waiting for us to be learned if you begin to come to some understanding. And I mean, it is a life's work. I'm just really aware that we've gone well over the hour already, Ted. I think we're going to have to come back and pick this up and keep going on with it because we barely scratched the surface of what's to be found here, have we?
No, I mean there's variables, and then there's transits, which when the planets play out. Well, I mean, we could leave it there, Sarah, and come back to it at a later stage if you want.
Yeah, we'll do another one of these talks, maybe in a week or so, something like that, and pick it up and expand out.
Well, focus on the juicy bits actually,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I haven't gone into any of my referral books yet.
Okay, juicy bits next, folks.
Yeah, I think, yeah. I mean, to be honest, really.
I'll stop sharing there. Yeah, I mean, there's, hopefully that's given you, just begun to give you a flavor, because I say we've barely scratched the surface, have we, Ted, about how this can begin to help you, the whole fascinating aspect of how this can begin to help you understand who you are. And we haven't even touched on, the difference between my tropical chart and my sidereal chart, because in my tropical, I'm a 4-6.
Yes.
Whereas I'm a 3-1 in this, and there's, well, anyway, we won't go into it, but it starts to see, there's the overlay. and here's the true self. And I'm working my way from that to this. And then there's all of this and all of this learning I can get there. And then you put me in relationship with somebody else, whether it's a friend, whether it's family, whatever it might be. Uh, and then there's this whole other layering as well. So it's like Topsy, it just keeps growing.
Well, it does. I think, going forward from here, just an idea really, if any of the people that watch this want I can do their design, no problem at all. In terms of doing a reading, then that's another, I think maybe we'll do a thing on the deeper, we haven't talked about strategy, authority and all those sorts of things
Yeah,
either.
yeah.
So,
So we'll definitely put a date in the diary and come back to this, pick it up and look at all of those things as well, because I just, yeah, if you want to know yourself, and I think that's the reason why all of us are here. We're here to come back into our true selves, and if you want to begin to get a flavor and understanding of what that is, have a tool to help you, this will do it, won't it?
absolutely. And I think, it's an important time now as we're coming to the end of this period. We're moving into the cross of the sleeping phoenix. So there's massive change happening, and people with your design are going to be impacted more than others.
Yeah.
And it's really important to know that. Brilliant. All right. Well, I've really enjoyed gabbling on.
I'm so frustrated because I know there's so much more, and there's wonderful other stuff, real aha moments in all of this, and yeah, but we'll come back again. So I can't thank you enough, Ted, for and
No,
you're so good at this. You're so good at explaining it in what I call everyday words rather than jargon. So yes, thank you.
absolute pleasure. And just know, I think if you look at your transit,
Oh, my transit chart. Shall we share that
yeah,
very briefly? Screen share.
I think I did it for today, did I?
4th of Feb, is that it? Can you see it?
Oh, I did it for the 4th of Feb because you've got your throat joined up.
That's a good day for me, is it?
Yeah, but it's not connected to your head and ajna. But that's just for those out there. Over on the right, we have what the planets are actually doing in the sky, and this applies to all of us, by the way. So every 5.5 days, we go through a change in the sun personality sun sign. So we're constantly changing a design, and you'll see from there. I can't see what your profile is. Is it 4/6? I can't remember. But
Where will I see that?
so you have different definitions. Your definition changes.
Yeah.
But all of this can be got off that website. But if people want to know more about it, they can. If you give them my details, Sarah, they can.
Yeah, I'll put them in the box below this.
Anyway, thanks so much, Sarah.
Yeah, well, yes, as I say, thank you, and we will reconvene because yeah, there's a lot more to go, isn't there, Ted?
Well, and I haven't covered some of the basics, actually, I've just realised, but we'll do that next time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Ted.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.